Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 358 of the West Tigers podcast. Another Wednesday night edition of the podcast. I'm joined by Gary Watson. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. An interesting change having you instead of Eddie, mate.
Yeah, I know. I feel like he didn't come last week as well, or he hasn't showed up for a while. We have this running theory that he actually doesn't like talking about positivity, and another week in a row he's not here. So we just have to next man up mentality.
Yeah, as soon as some more bad news breaks, he'll be back.
Yeah. And we also have the pleasure of being joined by Jordan. Now, Jordan, this is me and you first time meeting on the pod. How's your experience been so far? Has Gary started to annoy you yet? Because I reckon it becomes like the fifth or sixth podcast you do with him where you start to realise that he's actually not putting on the act and this is how he is all the time.
It started. When did he stop? It's pretty much been from day dot. No, it's been a good experience. I've enjoyed every time I've come on, and Gary and I have some very similar opinions on a lot of things, except that my love for Seafarth and not his so much.
We're pretty close on that Adam Dewey, though, mate.
Okay,
mate. They're very, very, very close. Very close on our good friend AD.
Yeah, well, probably fortunately for AD, I don't think I've got him on the run sheet tonight. You guys can fling to him at any point. I know Gary, he's never more than a thought away in Gary's mind, so we'll just have to see how we go.
Eddie just throws me under the bus with him like almost every week.
Yep. Well, yeah. To be fair, I think some of the things this season he might have warranted a little bit of criticism, but let's not get bogged down in that. Let's stick to the agenda. I'm not like Eddie. I've actually told you guys what we're going to talk about, so hopefully it's going to be a smooth and seamless transition of hosts, and everyone doesn't get too annoyed with me. So, shall we begin?
Let's go for it, mate.
All right, too easy. Jordan, I'll start with you because you weren't on any of the pods last week, and obviously massive kind of story just as we were preparing to record last week about the Balmain Tigers and how some of their board members are really unhappy with the Home and Barnes group and are like talking about requesting that the Balmain Tigers should split from the joint venture. I just want to get your opinion now that it's been almost a week since then and it's kind of settled down a little bit in terms of like what the actual cards on the table are. And it does sound like Chamis did add a little bit of GST onto that original article. What's your opinion of the whole Home and Barnes group Balmain kind of fraction at the moment?
I think it's the epitome of storm in a teacup. Without a doubt, it created a lot of hysteria, and rightfully so to agree with the emails and the few of the things and the actual quotes coming out. I can understand why fans might have actually reacted the way they did, purely for the fact of just the roll-on of articles. Like there was one after the other, and then there were comments coming out. But I think along with myself and a lot of fans, that pod that Richo did, basically shutting it down and just his demeanour, the way he carries himself and the way he just came across, I think a lot of us just went, okay, cool. Listen to Richo, and Chamis can stick with his sources in his little corner.
I think my favourite part of the Richo interview was the referring to them as blazer wearers. That to me, I think, was a shot across the bow of probably both sides of the joint venture, both parent clubs. And I thought it was fantastic that he came out and put the whole story to bed. 8 minutes talking to Chris Warren, and it pretty much took all the air out of the situation, which I think is what we needed. But I didn't want that negativity hanging around the club heading into this offseason. We had it last offseason. So hopefully the recommendations for the review get implemented over the next couple of months and we don't have to look back to that sort of drama ever again.
Yeah, agreed. The scaremongering tactics, especially in some of the articles, like you and I, Garrett, we spoke about it. One particular comment that really, when I first read it, I honestly could say my heart sank, was the whole heritage agreement and that they could change the name in a couple of years' time, and just bringing up those kind of things. For me, I could honestly say it probably would be a deal breaker if we went away from anything that was the West Tigers. It would have to stay as West Tigers, and I think there'd be a lot of fans like that, and they would be cutting their nose off to spite their face to change anything now, considering you've got a whole generation plus of fans that have just West Tigers fans, not Magpies or Balmain.
The big thing for me is one of the key recommendations is constitutional change of the West Tigers. So changing the constitution on how things are voted for, who does the voting, and all of that, and it's really crucial. Once that's in place, I think it'll be very hard to change things like that into the future, because the independents will be involved and they will have the majority say in what's happening in our club. And I think that's for the best moving forward. We need to move this club into 2024. We're not a 1980s club anymore, and I think these changes will allow that to happen. So hopefully by the start of next season, all of that's behind us, and we've got a club that's set up to succeed for the next 30, 40 years.
Yeah, just coming back to Richardson for a second, I think that, this season it's obviously had its ups and downs, and, we've had definitely lots of low points. So it's not been smooth sailing at all. We had the 9 losses in a row. Steph's obviously left when we said publicly that we wanted to keep him. But I just think that Richardson, he's such a talented speaker, and he's so good at conveying a message that, even when, you go into something feeling a little bit down, he always just manages to galvanize the fan base and then get us moving forward in the right direction. Gary, I just think that under previous administrations, and I know we probably shouldn't harp on about the past, but I just reckon that this would have dragged on the entire off season, as you rightfully just said, and we'd still be talking about it, and maybe we'd had some leaks from the rival newspaper or something like that. But Richardson, he just got out in the front foot and he just addressed it straight up, which was really refreshing to see.
I think things that we'd seen in the past in these sort of situations, even when the leadership of our club did come out to speak, it made the situation worse. It didn't dampen down the heat to the story. You have a look at the Anzac jersey situation last year where Justin Pascoe came out and all the blame was being pushed away from the club. And that sort of stuff just doesn't seem to happen anymore. And I think that's a big step forward. And I don't want to harp on people who were in our club last year and the changes that had to be made. We heard one of them come out and harp on about himself again this week. The sooner we get that as far in the past as we can, the better it is for the club.
Yeah, I agree. I think Richo literally just did what all of us wanted as a leader to do of the club. He grabbed it by the scruff of the neck, he chucked it in front of us, and he said, "This is how it is, this is how it's going to be, and this is what we're going to continue to do." And we just got on with it. We didn't have someone jumping on 360 with their particular hat style, making a mockery of the club and making the situation even worse. He just grabbed it by the scruff and said, "Look, listen here, this is how it is, deal with it."
I will say Richo's word choice they make me laugh. Scuttlebutt, crocodile roll.
Oh, they do.
Just about every single little press thing he does, there's that classic moment where a new term kind of gets thrown out there. I look forward to that every time he speaks.
But Jordan, I think you've unlocked a horrible memory in my head of Lee going on 10 over 360 and just spouting absolute, I don't know what it was, but yeah, I'm not happy to relive that. But yeah, I think on Richardson buzzwords, I think he does that on purpose because that's something we remember, and it's makes his communication more impactful. So I think we all laugh about it and everything, but every single interview he does is something different, and I reckon it's a choice he's doing on purpose. But anyway, we'll move on to other discussion points because hopefully this is all going to die down and we actually get some movement on the independent board members, the new constitution. So hopefully that comes in the not too distant future. But I thought we'd stick to a tradition on the midweek podcast and play a game of buy, sell, and hold. So as per usual, you've only got one hold. I won't take anything else, and I'll probably judge you as well if you use your hold on anything. So are we ready?
I'm ready to go, mate.
Okay, so we'll start with Jordan. Royce Hunt from the Cronulla Sharks procured a early release from the last year of his contract. He'll be joining us on a 3-year deal starting next year. Are you buying, holding, or selling this signing?
I'm definitely buying it. It's kind of the prop signing we need. We're not in the need for a long minute foiler of a prop. We need someone who's going to come on for that 20, 30-minute period, cause some damage, get some meters upfield, hit hard, run hard, potentially barge over the line for a try. We just need that kind of impact prop that if we look like we're on the back foot, you can bring him on halfway through the first half and hopefully turn that momentum. I think it's a good signing. It wouldn't have broke the bank in relation to the salary cap. I'm definitely buying that.
Yeah, I'll buy that signing as well. I'm quite happy with his signing, but I think it needs to come with another prop forward. The things I like about Hunt, Declan covered, not Declan, sorry, Jordan covered a couple of them just then. I love the way he hits the line. I love that impact at the line. I love the way he's able to actually bust through tackles and come out the other side. Steph was probably our most impactful middle this year, and he kind of hits the line hard, bumps a guy off, but he loses momentum when he hits the line. And I think Royce has a lot more ability to go through the line in that situation. I love the way he draws defenders in. So when he hits the line, it's 2, 3, sometimes 4 tacklers coming in to bring him down. They don't always get him down. I think that adds a lot to our attack. He gets a decent play the ball on the back of that. And you saw on the weekend, one of the long range tries Cronulla scored early was off a hit up from Royce Hunt where he hit the line, drew in defenders, and they took off straight off the back of it. And to me, that's what he's going to add to our club. He causes that damage to the defensive line, which gives space to your halves and your quicker men to take advantage of. And we haven't really had that for quite a while. I will disagree with Jordan slightly. I think we still do need something to accompany him. I'm not happy with the front row stock still we've got going into next year. And I think this signing is only a really good signing if we have another prop forward coming along with it. Someone who can play more minutes than 20. Someone who does put out good minutes, but also provides a little bit of impact as well. I think we've got quite a number of middles who can provide good minutes and decent meters, but they don't have that impact. So I think we still need another prop forward signing, but I am happy with this one moving forward. And the key part to this signing is I think we need to turn that 20 minutes he showed on the weekend, has been showing for most of the season, into 2 20-minute stints. If we can get 2 20-minute stints out of him, one in the first half, one in the second half, then I think that will make this signing a lot better than what it may look a little bit on paper now.
So, Jordan, it sounds like you want him to come off the bench. Obviously he's replacing Steph, like light for light replacement in terms of the playing styles. Is that what you want? You want him to come off the bench and kind of do the same role he's playing for Cronulla at the moment, or can you see him kind of evolving and playing more minutes in a starting role?
I think he's better utilised off the bench. I think he's much better coming on when you've got your middles and your edge forwards have already had to do a bit of work. Whether or not he can be as damaging when everyone's fresh remains to be seen. But I would definitely be using him more of that prop forward you bring on around that 20-minute mark of the first half.
The only thought I would have to start in him is if you're really struggling to get those 2 20-minute stints out of him, if you start him early and have him onto the 20-minute mark, say, he goes off, he can spend an extra 40 to 50 minutes actually recovering from that stint to come back and finish out the end of the game. That might work fairly well for him.
Yeah, I think that it's a bit like the Jerome Luai situation. When we first signed him, everyone thought that, this is the role he plays at the Penrith Panthers. He can't play any other role because he's just not given the opportunity to. But as we saw with Jerome Luai, the more usage he got, and when he actually played halfback, he could show that he had more to his skills. He could run the team. He could pretty much do everything. So I'm hoping with Royce Hunt that the more minutes he plays, the more he can show that he can do these things with more minutes. Gary.
There's also the connection between him and Jerome Luai, both having played for Samoa as well. So they have played together before. They possibly already have a pretty good relationship. So I do wonder a little bit if Luai had any input into him coming across for next season.
Yeah, that's a good point. Didn't stop Steph from leaving. He also played for Samoa, but we've moved on. Jordan?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think with the comments that he made in the paper today, just that he met Benji Monday and it was pretty much done by Tuesday, that's a good sign. Whether Luai had any involvement in that, I'm not sure. But I also think it's a good sign on Benji's side for the fact that we're getting some of these signings done over the line quickly, and that players are buying into what we're trying to achieve in 2025.
Yeah, it's a good point. All right, next one. Jordan, we'll start with you because I think I know what Gary's going to say. Jack Bird. Danny Werdler tweeted that he spotted Jack Bird coming out of the Concourse Centre of Excellence with a smile on his face. We're not sure if he was happy because he was out of there or if he's about to sign. Are you buying, selling, or holding signing Jack Bird for next year?
I'm actually going to hold. The more I think about it, and the more I've paid attention over the last 2 weeks. Last week was a bit of a tough game because Dragons were dreadful in general. But if the comments that were made by Karianis today are true, is that we're trying to bring him in as that experienced sort of kind of utility version that he can fill in at centre, fill in at second row to cover for these young blokes coming through over the next 2 years. Obviously, it's not going to be a large amount of money. 2 years would be the maximum that I'd pick him up for, but I'm holding that for the moment. I would not be 100% disappointed if we did sign him, but I wouldn't be disappointed at all if we missed him.
Gary, I think whenever we sign a player, I always look to see what the fans of the club they're at right now think. And with Royce Hunt, I was actually pleasantly surprised. Most Cronulla fans were actually really sad to see him go, which is a good time for us. But with Jack Bird, it was the opposite. And I saw one comment that said, "This is payback for Moses Mbai and Zane Musgrove," which put an absolute shiver down my throat. What's your take on the Jack Bird situation?
Look, I don't think you can doubt his ability as a footballer. He comes across as a very committed and very hardworking footballer as well. So I don't think you can doubt his commitment. The thing that worries me is his injuries. He's had a lot of injuries over his career. He spent a lot of time on the sideline. And I have a look at what happened with Justin Olam this year. That was a signing I was very worried about due to injuries. And we struggled to get him to put 2 games together all season. And I don't think we can really afford another player that we just can't get on the field, especially an experienced player, because we're such a young squad. And bringing in an experienced player who we can't get on the field is a real worry for me. If we get him, I hope we get an injury-free version of him because he's been a great footballer. I'm just concerned about the injuries.
Yeah. Another one. So Kobe Hetherington, obviously we're being linked to Corey Hosborough, but as we've all seen, Corey Hosborough seems to be on a tour of every single NRL club that will have him. So I'm not too confident that we'll land him. But Cody Hetherington, obviously a kind of similar work rate player from the Brisbane Broncos, stuck in their bench, obviously blocked by Pat Carrigan. Jordan, would you be interested in someone like him in our pack?
100%. Again, so I'm probably like a lot of fans, I tend to start paying attention to certain players once we link to them, start looking at things. The interesting comment, there was a thing made by Pat Carrigan at the start of the year. They were asking things just through like a general Q&A with players. And they said, "Who's the hardest person you've ever been hit by?" And he said it's Kobe Hetherington. Apparently, if Pat Carrigan pretty much wasn't at Brisbane, he would be the starting 13 for the Broncos. There's a lot of... He's played 71 games for someone so young who only debuted a couple of years ago. And apparently he is a very, very solid defender, a good talker in the middle. I haven't paid a lot of attention to his work with the ball, but for someone who could really shore up our middle part of the pack with defence, I'd be interested in him for sure. I think he's also not going to break the bank either in salary cap. So if he's genuinely available, I actually hope we're in for him.
Hey, Gary, he's probably more of a traditional 13. I don't think ball playing is his strong suit. But would you be interested in bringing someone like Kobe? Because he's obviously going to be cheaper, as Jordan said, than someone like Hosborough, but he's still got that kind of defensive awareness and attitude what do you reckon? He kind of reminds me of someone like Jermaine Hopgood when he was at Penrith.
Yeah.
Like obviously below, no one really like saw that like Hopgood was a first grade player, but then you put him in another team, more minutes, more opportunity, and then he's playing Origin. Not saying that that's going to be Hetherington, but I think the same kind of principles apply in this situation.
If I had a choice between Hetherington and Bird, I'm probably leaning towards Hetherington. Younger player, doesn't have the injury concerns. Bird has been the better footballer, but I don't think he's going to be a guy who's playing in your side every week. Hetherington's a guy you can put into that lock role. You can plug him in. He shores up the middle of our defence massively, and that has been an issue for a number of years now. So I'm quite happy if we pick him up. Again, it's going to be something that comes down to dollars. If you paying him too much, then it's a really bad signing. But if you get him on a really team friendly deal, then it's a great signing. So I'd be very interested in picking him up.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, buy, sell, and hold. Aidan Sezer, not officially, but heavily rumored that he's off to the Super League next year, and obviously out with a shoulder injury for this weekend's game against Parramatta. So he's played his last game for the West Tigers. Gary, do you think that Aidan Sezer was a successful signing for the Tigers? Buy, sell, or hold?
That's a really tough question. I'm going to buy it for hopefully the experience and guidance that he gave to Lockie Galvin throughout this season. Galvin came into this season as a rookie who really has far exceeded, I think, just about everyone except for Eddie's expectations. So I'm hoping that there was some really good guidance involved in that. On the field, I don't think it's been that successful. The key thing that lets it down for me is the two suspensions. The two suspensions from a guy in that role who was a key part of our spine. For me, we can't have him spending 6 weeks on the sidelines suspended, which is what we had. So on the field, I'm going to sell it. I'm just hoping the only way to get it to the buy, so it sounds like a little bit of a hold, I guess, is that he's probably provided some good experience and some good guidance to the young halves that we do have coming through at the club.
I mean, Jordan, I feel like with most of our players, when it was good, it was great with Aidan Sezer. And when we won, he was usually one of our better players. But then, when it was bad and we couldn't score points, he wasn't really doing much. How would you sum Aidan Sezer's season, and would you buy, sell, or hold his stint at our club being a success?
Well, Gary literally rattled off every dot point that I was thinking of in relation to Sezer's season. I would hold. Actually, no, I was changing it. I'd sell.
We're both all over the place on that one.
Yeah, no, I'll sell it. The suspensions hurt. The suspensions hurt big time. The 2 wins at the start of the year, his kicking game was massive. He was actually getting us around the field with his foot. But then a lot of the games after that, the ones that we did win, even with him involved, they were down to other players. They were down to Galvin and a few others in the team. They weren't really on him. So, and I think, and especially in one game in particular, his kicking game was terrible. But I think as the year has gone on, it just showed that he's probably not up to NRL standard anymore. So I would sell it.
I think the key part you said there, Jordan, was as the year went on. I think at the start of the season, he was that steadying hand for what was a very young spine. And as the season's gone on, and especially with him being suspended a couple of times, Lockie Galvin's had to take on a lot more responsibility. He's had to take on the senior halves partner. He was playing with Latu in the halves with him the other week. And even when he was playing with Sullivan earlier in the season, I think it was Lockie Galvin doing most of the work. And I think as Lockie's developed his game this season, the need for that steadying hand has become less and less and less. And it's kind of coincided with Sezer's game dropping off a cliff at the same time. So I think he was good early in the season as that steadying hand, but even his kicking game the last month or so has been really hit and miss. So if you had asked me 3 months ago whether we should sign him to keep him as a backup for next year, and I think Eddie asked on the pod at some point, And I said I would have kept him. I would have signed him up, had him as a backup, had him mostly playing reserve grade. But at this point, I think it's the right decision to let him go and head back over to England if he wants to continue his career.
Fair enough. All right, next one. So 3 years from now, when we're winning the comp, obviously by 13 plus, Lachlan Galvin's got the Clive Churchill medal easily.
Oh, sorry, he's re-signed.
He's re-signed. Eddie's taken all the credit for all the club success, all down to him and his great ideas. But we will all look back on this season and deem it a step forward, buy, sell, or hold.
But yeah, if we are successful in 3 years' time, I'm going to buy that this season was a step forward. Because if we're successful in 3 years' time, I'm guessing it's still Benji Marshall in the hot seat, because it needs to turn around fairly quickly for that to happen. So I think if we're successful, this has probably been a fairly good experience for him. The introduction of all the young players, we've got another one debuting on Friday night. I think the introduction of the youth into this side and what they've brought to this side this year. So even right now, I would say it's a step forward. It's a fairly small step forward this year from where we have been in the past. Even if we end up with the wooden spoon on Friday night, I think it is a small step forward because the players we've been able to bring into the grade and the experience we've given to those young guys that they probably wouldn't have got at another club. They wouldn't have been, not this many of them anyway, would have had the opportunities they've had this year. And I hope that those opportunities set us up to be a lot more successful in the future.
All right, Jordan. Gary kind of sidestepped what I was trying to ask there, but we'll just ask in plain English then. Are you happy with where we've finished to where we started? Do you reckon this has been a positive season in terms of building for the long-term future?
I'm going to hold. I'll hold that. I'll hold it for next year.
Oh, you've used your hold. You've used your hold.
Oh, I've used my
Come on,
hold.
stop
Okay.
cheating, Jordan.
Okay,
Just like
well,
this is not unlike you, Jordan.
Well, I guess I'll try and answer the question. I'll have to do mine and Gary's job then. I'll buy it for the fact of the youth. I will agree with Gary on that. The youth is the stepping stone. Stepping into next year, I think for us as fans and as a club, 2025 is going to be the most important year in our history. And with these kids coming through and whatever potential signings we can pick up for next year, it is going to lead us to what potential opportunity we have for long-term success. If we do not get next year right, I have fear for the years after. No, I'm not expecting premierships in 2025, but I'm expecting vast improvement. But if we can't hold on to the likes of Galvin and others, then this year was pointless. We have to hold on to them for this stepping stone to turn into something else. Otherwise, it's just another failed year.
It does feel like a house of cards. I think I said that on the group chat. Calvin leaves, then we're it's all for nothing. All right, we'll do 2 more ones for buy, sell, and hold. So Campbelltown Stadium, it's been reported this is the 3rd time in a season that's been sold out. Have we finally cracked the MacArthur area? Have we finally unlocked something in Campbelltown with all this interest from the area? And how have the Tigers managed to do it this time?
Look, I think it's amazing the support that has been out at Campbelltown Stadium this year. Not only have they been good crowds, they've been loud and noisy crowds, and I think given really good support to the West Tigers for the majority of it. A couple of the games, there was a fair bit of support there for the other sides as well. But I think it's been a real positive. How have we done it? I guess I can only point to Richo's words of re-engaging with the MacArthur region, actually setting up an office out there, and maybe the community sees that the club is now genuine about supporting the area. It's hard to tell because it's hard to say that there's been enough time for there to be a significant change in what's happening out in the area to make this difference. So it's really hard to pinpoint what has made that massive difference, but I'm going to buy it. The support out there has been excellent this year.
I mean, Jordan, is it the fact that Richardson kind of has went out of his way in strategic planning to mention Campbelltown, or do you reckon it might be something as simple as, we've got Lachlan Galvin, Campbelltown Junior, we've got Heath
Good
Mason,
point.
Campbelltown Junior. We've got these kind of guys coming through first grade playing well, so that kind of gives a buzz for the area, and it kind of gives these role models that the community down there can get behind. What do you reckon it is?
There's a few factors. As a Campbelltown boy myself, and living in the local area, the big difference I've noticed this year is that you can't go many places without seeing the Tigers emblem somewhere. Anytime there was a game, it was plastered all over the boards at MacArthur Square. There was the big billboard on Norellan Road. There was a lot of advertisement for it. I think a big factor is also the fact that we're actually getting decent local teams to Campbelltown as well, not the likes of Canberra, Newcastle, the Warriors, Broncos. We did used to get the raw end of the stick sometimes with the draw in relation to who we actually played out here. So I think that has made a big difference with crowds. But you are 100% correct in relation to the local junior product. As someone who deals a lot with grassroots football out here and coaching and everything else, having kids from your local area, your local teams, the Laulili brothers, Galvin, Mason, De Silva, having them around, having the buzz around the debuts, everything. Like our club, Talon De Silva is a local junior for my club, and the buzz just around the club of his debut, I've never seen anything like it. His dad played for the club for a long period of time. He's played all levels with the club, and he was always at training. He was always around the kids, and for these kids to see an NRL player just hanging about with them on a standard Tuesday night training session, it gives them that love and pride for a club and go, hey, I want to be a Tiger too.
Well, and I guess it really puts across the message that it's the community's club. Once you see these young kids who have been playing in the same junior leagues that you're currently playing in, that really puts ties down into that community, doesn't it, Jordan?
100%. 100%. I actually did an experiment of a sense. I gave all my kids questionnaires at the start of the year who their favourite player was. Just so I know how to learn my kids and, give them comparisons to their own game to them so they have something to aspire to. And you have no idea how many kids at the start of the year loved Reece Walsh, Nathan Cleary, all kinds of the stars of the game. And I asked kids at the end of the year the same questions just about what they achieved and whatnot, and you have no idea. Over 50% had changed their favourite player to our very own Lockie Galvin.
At Leichhardt the other week, Jordan, I gave your kids a survey as well, your three children, on who their favourite West Tigers panellist was. And I got all the votes, mate.
Yeah, I told him not to hurt your feelings, mate.
Yeah, I heard it was very awkward. Gary made it very awkward. But anyway, let's just move on. So just quickly, Aaron Woods, everyone's favorite person here. For the record, I know Steve kind of threw me under the bus at the start of last week about saying Aaron Woods wasn't a great player. I actually don't remember saying that.
That wasn't the wording Steve used, Declan.
Yeah, I know. I'm being political here in case Aaron Woods is watching. So if you're listening, Woodsy, I actually don't remember saying that. And as penance to make up for it, I just thought I'd ask a question for you guys. 146 caps for the Tigers. And then I think he had something like 17 for Australia and 14 for the Blues. So quite a decent rep career. But he just doesn't really have that kind of spiritual home as a clubman. So do you guys reckon, Gary, I'll start with you, should Aaron Woods be remembered as a West Tigers great?
It's a really hard one because he played his best football here. I remember watching him come through the under-20s, the old Toyota Cup, and I think he had all that here. There's no doubt that the West Tigers were his spiritual home. The issue is, when he was captain, he was encouraging other players to leave the club. And that, I think that was a tough pill to swallow for a lot of West Tigers fans. I have no problem with him being involved with the club and coming coming back. And I'm sure as soon as his playing career is over, there'll be some kind of involvement with the alumni program that the club now has, and I think that's fantastic for him. And so I think he will get that little bit, and especially as time goes on, that connection back to the West Tigers. I think for fans, it's just a touchy one, and probably for another 3 or 4 years, just with his exit of the club. That was very messy. And I think the hard thing with football clubs, with a player like that, a local junior who pretty much had the postcode tattooed on his body, to the way he left the club, that hurts a lot of people. I think over time that will fade, but it probably doesn't fade for 3-4 years, I don't think.
I mean, Jordan, I don't know how he did it, but he landed a pretty big gig on Triple M, so I think he's going to be in our lives for a few years to come. How do you remember Woodsy's legacy at the club, and do you think that he should be, remembered as one of the greats? Because he did have like a really good career. He was part of that, like 2014 Blues side that broke the maroon streak. He played a lot of caps for Australia. Like, he had a really good career, but yeah, I think as Gary said, he's just a bit polarized because of how his time with the club ended.
Yeah, prior to his exit, he was one of my favourite players. I loved Woodsy. I thought he was a great player. He was a strong leader to a degree. The way his exit actually wouldn't have been too bad if he didn't do that stupid interview. That interview really put a line through his name for a lot of fans, me included. I remember watching that and just thinking, mate, good luck to you. On your horse. See you later. I think it was just really poor taste, really poor timed, and that probably damaged him to being remembered as a great player for the West Tigers. But taking that all aside, yes, I think he should be remembered. He came through. He was a local junior, as Gary mentioned, the whole 2040 thing. He's had a great career to play 270 first-grade games between nearly every club in the NRL. He's done well for himself, but I'm not going out of my way to remember him as others. There are many who deserve the recognition further because he just burnt too many bridges with his exit.
Yeah, fair enough. It's interesting. I think with like the modern day athlete, you see a lot in basketball how back in the day people would just stay at one club forever, and that would kind of cement their legacy there. But now you're seeing athletes kind of like hop between different like franchises or clubs, like Kevin Durant in basketball, and then it becomes this kind of thing where like, oh, what's his like? What do you imagine him as? What jersey is he in? Like, where is his legacy at? And I think with Woodsy, like, what club? Like, probably as the Tigers, Gary, that like he'll be remembered for. But like, it doesn't seem like a lot of Tigers fans are that receptive to him. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, and it definitely comes down to how he left. I think if he had went and signed with another club and just went about it quietly, and as Jordan said, didn't do that interview, then I think he's remembered a lot better now by West Tigers fans than he probably is for the most part. But I do think at some point, that kind of being a West Tigers junior, I think that will come back for him. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Time heals everything, well, most things.
Yeah, most things. But congratulations, Woodsy. You've had definitely a memorable career, and hopefully he's kind to us in his coverage on Triple M and NRL 360. I think we need more West Tigers people in the media because, we do cop it from time to time. All right.
There you go, Joe. Declan, you just called him a West Tigers person. See, it's happening already.
It's happening already. All right, let's move on to Spoon Bowl, the game that's to be marketed as last be second last, winner takes all, or winner avoids shame for the year. The Tigers are taking on the Parramatta Eels. 6 o'clock kickoff at Campbelltown Stadium. Teams were named yesterday, and I'm a little bit, like most of the changes are pretty consistent. But Gary, I was a little bit disappointed to see Josh Bellady in centre. I was just hoping that we'd have something else better. But Olam's rubbed out for the year. Adam Dewey's rubbed out for the year as well. It seems like that might have been like the last option.
Look, and I guess it's another opportunity for him at NRL level. A lot of his mates, his young mates who have come through this season, have have shown really good form and shown really good futures. I I think what we saw from Josh last year wasn't enough, and he hasn't been setting the world on fire in reserve grade either. So I think this is a really big opportunity for him. But yeah, I was very disappointed when I saw him named there because I don't think he's anywhere near ready for the NRL.
I mean, Jordan, what's your thoughts going into this game? Because I think Parramatta, they've actually beaten some, like they've had some pretty good performances. I know we beat Manly, but Parramatta beat the Dragons. I think they gave the Brisbane Broncos a good run for the money. Are you confident going into this game?
Something on the line, sellout crowd, last game of the year. No,
Disaster.
I've got PTSD. It's
You've been having nightmares all week, Jordan.
well, mate. Yeah, to say the least. To say the least, I honestly believe if we don't win this game, for me, nothing's changed. It's we need to be able to put something like this to bed. We need to be able to come out with something to fight for. Like I know Parramatta have something to fight for as well, but we have something more so to fight for. We're fighting to avoid the third spoon in the row. These kids want to finish the year strong, go into the preseason on a high, and really start off on the right foot for the preseason for 2025. But unfortunately, there is just too much similar to other situations that you just go, we are guaranteed to lose.
The thing that worries me the most heading into it isn't so much our history. I think Parramatta's playing decent football. Defensively, they are all over the shop still, but attacking, like they scored a lot of points last weekend, and that's my concern this weekend is not so much that we're not going to show up because I think for the most part this season we have. I do have a little bit of a concern about us having the bye last week, and the temptation would have been there, especially for young players, that the season's over and to treat last week like the start of the off season. So I do have a little bit of concern around that. But I think we've done a really good job of showing up for games this year, and I think we will show up on Friday night and we'll give a good account of ourselves. But you have a look on paper, Parramatta is a lot stronger side than what we have on paper.
Yeah, I think that the name of the game here is veterans, Gary, because I think that Parramatta, they've had a really unsuccessful season because all their kind of core veteran players have, for whatever reason, like not performed, and that's why they are. But us, on the other hand, we've taken this opportunity to blood a lot of rookies, and with rookies comes inconsistent performances. But that being said, in a one-off game, if you're going to back a team of rookies, against a team of veterans, I think I probably put my money towards the veterans showing up for that one big effort. So I think the key for us, the name of the game also, is just we need to shift the ball around. We can't just have an arm wrestle with that Parramatta Eels team because I think their forwards are probably experienced enough and tough enough to stick it out with us. We need to shift the ball, kind of like we did against the Raiders, how we're really good on that left-hand shift. I think if we break them down, they've shown that, they can leak points, and then that gives us confidence, home crowd advantage in Campbelltown, and then we can just ride on that momentum. How do you think that the Tigers should approach this game in terms of like a tactical point of view?
For me, it is sticking with them through the first 60 minutes. I think they've shown for a big part of this year that towards the end of the game, they leak a lot of points. They've had a lot of games this year. The game against Penrith where they had a decent lead and Penrith just came back and got them at the end. And I know we're not Penrith, but I think if we can get a decent start, hold them through the middle, and then, I think we do have to spread the ball as well. I think our strength is in our young halves. I think Latu Fainu and Lockie Galvin, I'm really excited to see how they go this weekend. I liked how they played together and how they linked up against Manly. And for me, they're the key. I think their ability to control the game. I, I've said this a number of times. I absolutely love the way Lockie Galvin gets in the position early and organise his players around him. I that to me is going to be huge this weekend. If he can get guys hitting the holes he wants them to hit, that's why we've been scoring more points. So yeah, I just think we have to hold them through the middle for especially the first 60 minutes. If we're within a shout with 20 to go, I think we can come over the top of them.
Jordan, is there a particular matchup that you like that we have that we can really use to get over the top of the Eels in terms of a player or an edge or the middle? But what do you reckon?
I'm keen to see Galvin against Dylan Brown. Similar flamboyancy, moving around both sides of the field. It'll be interesting to see how what they throw at each other. I agree with you, Declan, in relation to throwing the ball around. I think we need to chance our hand. We have to move this Parramatta pack around. And Gary mentioned the end of games, the leaking points. Parramatta leaked 28 points in the last 11 minutes against the Dragons. Like, we need to stick it with them. If we're, a few points either side of winning or losing, I can back us in to find a way to push forward and get the result. But for me, this game is going to be one on the edges. It's going to be one between, the second row, centre and wing. It's going to be out wide. My big concern is I hope Folletti isn't on Talangi's side. Yeah. Blaze against Folletti, that could potentially spell disaster.
And for Folletti, he's shown some really poor defense in his NRL games that he's had so far. Not just making tackles, his positioning has been really ordinary. So hopefully that's improved since this time last year.
I would have preferred us chucking in Naden for one final game than bringing Folletti in, to be honest.
I honestly think the fact that Naden isn't playing, it's just to send a message. I would prefer him as well. But there's been a decision there. I think the pen has actually been put through his name. I don't think we'll see him play first grade the West Tigers ever again.
That's what happens when you put in the shredder. You can't play after you've been put in the shredder. That's what Joe said.
So are you blaming Joel?
I'm blaming Joe, yeah. So
I blame him shouldering a bloke in the head on the ground when we were going to get the ball back.
Yeah, that's a good point. You never know what Nathan's going to do. But all right, so we'll do quickly tips, and then we'll get to the real point of discussion in terms of Jordan's 3 games in a row prediction. But Gary,
can't happen.
Who are you tipping?
Look, even this is going to be a surprise. Even in my tipping comp for the first time this year, I've tipped the West Tigers. I do need an upset to win the comp, so it is my selected upset. I think I'm confident we're going to show up, and Parramatta's been so up and down this year. I think we can get them.
I agree with you, Gary. I've tipped the Tigers as well. Jordan, are you optimistic as well?
100%. I am the epitome of optimism, even when it comes to the Tigers. Unlike Gary, I can never actually back against them. I will always tip them, only because I never want to be in that situation where I do tip against them and we win, and I can go, hey,
It's all right at the moment, Jordan. No one else tips them, so it doesn't really hurt you.
Yeah, no, fair. No, I think we will get them. Call me stupidly optimistic, but for some reason, I have a feeling we do turn up for this game and we actually win by a fair margin.
So all 3 of us have tipped the Tigers, so that means we have no chance. We put the mock on them, so that's great.
I'm sure Eddie's out there deaf riding us somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Hate watching. All right, now that we've gotten all the footy talk out of the way, for those of the pod that haven't listened, so Jordan actually gave a very audacious prediction that we would win 3 in a row this season, and I think this was at the point where we just lost to the Dragons. Is that correct? So. Or like sometime
it was the last bye weekend, I think.
Yeah, so like Jordan, like very, very brave prediction. We're now at 2 wins, and Gary, for some reason, thinks that because we had the bye, it doesn't matter if we win against the Eels or not. Now, Jordan, you think that that's wrong, that if the Eels win, it should be 3 in a row. I think everyone else agrees with you, but I thought we play a little game where I'm the judge. I'll decide who's right and wrong, and both of you decide, or like try and mount your arguments, and then I'll make a decision on who I think is right. So we'll start with
I
you,
would
Gary.
prefer an unbiased judge.
Well,
I
sorry.
was going to say it involves Gary, so automatically I win. He's always wrong.
Yeah.
I prefer an unbiased judge.
Well, we don't always get what we want, Gary. You're just gonna have to make do with the cards you've got. So
I don't recognise your authority.
Well, you're gonna have to start mounting an argument.
So who's going first? You go first.
Yeah,
I'll go first. Right. So my argument's simple. If you open up the big league, not that they have them anymore, but the big league, and they show the last 5 rounds, ours will say, even if we win on Friday night for the last 4 weeks, we'll say win, win, bye, win. That's not 3 in a row. There's a bye in the middle.
Okay, Jordan, what do you have to say to that?
Well, Honourable Declan, sir, I just want to point out whether it be 3 in a row, I said we'd win 3 games in a row. Now, if you look
3 in a row,
we'd win 3 in a row. What's that? What, Mr. Gary, please let me have the floor.
I object.
You object. I overruled.
Sorry, I'll let you speak, mate.
No worries. There are many different arguments I can throw at this. If you look at any point in time, someone goes, the Tigers or whoever have won the last however many in a row against the Dragons. Now, we obviously don't play the Dragons every week. They go, well, they've won the last 5 in a row against the Dragons. And that can spread over many seasons. You can have many situations where someone has scored 10 tries in a row against a particular team. Now, they obviously don't play them every week in a row. You can argue as much as you want whether there's a break in between, it is still consecutive. Now, in this situation, our 3 games that we have played are consecutive. A bye is not a game. We haven't played a game. We didn't play a game over the bye round. We won 3. If we win this Saturday, when we win this Friday night against Parramatta, that will be 3 wins in a row of games we have played. So my prediction is right. And just to make another point, if you want to say that doesn't count, well, we got 3 sets of points in a row, so the bye counts, so I've already won anyway.
No, because it has a little B there, not a W. So I would agree with you if you said we'd win 3 games in a row. But I've gone back and checked that pod, and all you said is we would win 3 in a row, which is 3 weeks in a row. Now, that argument over we played St. George and we've won 10 in a row against St. George. We haven't won 10 in a row against anyone, but if we had won 10 in a row against St. George, that's fine because they're consecutive games against St. George. We haven't had consecutive games because we had
But we didn't play a game. We didn't play a game on the bye round. So
but you didn't say 3 games.
You're basing it on one word?
That's how these things work.
All right,
so
I think
it makes the world turn.
All right, Joe's going to be really angry at us because this is going to went out of control. All right, I think that I'm going to agree with Jordan because...
Surprise.
Because Gary's only argument is a big league article that isn't even published anymore. Showing his age, exactly. So come on, Gary, live with us in the 21st century here. So I'm going to give it to Jordan. Thank you for participating. I think everyone in the comments is probably going to agree with us. If you're on the West Tigers podcast forum, feel free to tell us what you think about who won the argument. And no matter what, I think it was an audacious bid from Jordan or an audacious tip from Jordan. So I think it deserves some sort of praise, Gary.
He got 2/3 of the way there. So credit for getting 2/3 of the way there, Jordan.
That's right, Gary. We'll meet you at Campbelltown and I'll race you to the jumping castle. I think I might win.
Only because I've got a broken foot.
Irrelevant. I didn't say you had to have 2 right feet. It's the world we live in, Gary. You got to choose your words correctly in these things. I didn't have to say you had 2 right feet.
All right. Well, thanks, boys. I think that descended into a little bit of dribble, but I had fun, so hopefully the audience had fun as well. Yeah.
We don't all have a beer to catch our dribble, Gary.
Hey, that was good. I like that one.
Thanks, boys.
Hopefully,
no worries. Thanks, Declan. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Hopefully Eddie shows his face next week, but until then, go the Tigers.
Look,
Go the Tigers.
only if we lose.